Hey, so I want to talk about one of my favorite sobriety quotes that came up recently. It comes up all the time, but it's to go outside your comfort zone, but stay inside your strength zone. And it came up when a buddy recently said, hey, what would you give for advice to a guy that was newly sober and had to deal with all his drunken friends? And so I brought that quote up. Again, go outside your comfort zone, but stay inside your strength zone. And I said, an example, there's so many examples, but, I had one buddy who's early in sobriety and thought he could handle going on a weekend golf trip with his buddies, which would be outside his comfort zone, given that it was doing it sober. But I had concerns that it wasn't within his strength zone. But he did it anyway, and he made it through the first night, but not the second. And it couldn't be a better example, So to answer his question, I said, yeah, I would tell my buddies, listen, I quit drinking, didn't agree with me anymore. I like to sleep. I like to wake up feeling 100% of the time, and I need your support, and assuming you get it, still going to might be a little risky to hang out with them for a while, given that golf example right there, and my buddies learned from that, and he said he's going to, in the future, better prepare. He said he's got a 4-night golf trip coming up in the future. He plans to go, but he's going to, A, have much more sobriety behind him, but B, he's going to bring his wife and his kid, and they're going to stay at the same hotel as the group. So, he'll golf with them. He just won't go out drinking all night with them. I think he's also going to find as he has more sobriety, it's not going to be as big a challenge, but that's such a key. And I've found that in my case, early sobriety, don't even like to leave the house. That almost nothing is inside my strength zone besides stuff I do at home. It's a scary world out there. And I say you got to replace those dopamine hits, the artificial ones from alcohol, with natural ones. And you can get some of those at home. Cold shower finishes, exercise, gratitude practice. Yes, we are the luckiest. And sharing on sobriety calls. Those all work for me. And, that's why this process, it's often is done alone. It's all about self-care. There's a great quote that says, feeling lonely with no one to lean on can be incredibly difficult, but choosing to heal the correct way means actively engaging in self-care practices that nurture your emotional well-being by focusing on things like introspection, healthy coping mechanisms, and seeking support from professional resources, i.e. coaching and therapy. Those are all great forms of doing the work in addition to what I mentioned. Abstinence is not enough. They say the addict craves spiritual growth and personal development. And that means a lot of time on your own, just introspection, talking through things in therapy with a coach, etc. So, back to this quote, I've experienced it in many ways. There was a time I wanted to go golfing by myself on a Friday night like I used to do, but always drinking. And I didn't have that much sobriety behind me, so I didn't go. It was a time I even had some more sobriety behind me, probably 90 days. I wanted to go to an event in Boston, but I didn't know necessarily anyone that was going to be there. It sounded like a fun event, but it was at a bar, and I decided that was not within my strength zone. So you know what? I stayed home on that Friday night, and I attended a sobriety call. 2 of them, as a matter of fact. But then more recently, when I had felt very strong in my sobriety, and now for me, alcohol is off the table, I went to a buddy's birthday party at a bar, open bar. And I went with a plan going in. I talked to my coach. I talked to my accountability partner, and went in there. Actually had an NA beer on the way, which is funny. It was sort of reminded me of my pre-drinking days. And then, I pounded NA beers while I was there. I went right to the bar, got an NA beer, found somebody to talk to, and I felt comfortable. They say it can take up to an hour in socially awkward situations to feel comfortable, but you do get over the discomfort. And this whole process, the key is, you've got to embrace the discomfort. Get comfortable with the discomfort. A great quote is, growth does come at a cost. Moving to that next level often requires letting go of what feels safe or comfortable. But you got to do it. Nothing changes if nothing changes. As John Maxwell, the guy who that Safe Zone quote basically came from, said, everything you want but don't have is outside your comfort zone. But to get to that next level, you got to give something up. In this case, it's giving up your comfortability. It's giving up alcohol that we use to cheat the system, to beat the nerves, liquid confidence. doesn't work. It's a lie. Might have worked at one time, but it was at the cost of us learning coping skills that we now can learn on our own by embracing the discomfort and living life sober. Or even better said, is doing hard things sober. That builds resilience and creates greatness. A few more examples of, going outside the comfort zone, stay inside the strength zone. I once tried to go on a sober date when I didn't have all that much sobriety under my belt, but I had been talking to the gal for quite a while on email and on the phone, so I thought I felt very comfortable, but she was kind of an Instagram model almost, and I felt a little intimidated. On the way there, I was not strong enough yet to ward off that voice, to tell it to F off. So it turned out to be outside my strength zone because on the way, stopped at the liquor store, bought some Dr. McGillicuddy's, only 24% alcohol. Thought I'd just have a little bit, just a sip, just for a minute, just to see how it feels. And it was enough to get my face all red to the point I had to tell her it was just from nerves. And it was to the point that, the day was going well, but I just said something just stupid enough that I wouldn't have said normally that got her irritated enough to her complete attitude change and went cold the rest of the date and completely ruined it. Things did not work out. Another time, my college reunion I went to a year and a half ago. I had several months of sobriety under my belt, so I felt it was within my strength zone, but still wasn't quite far enough yet with that. I didn't have, I had to make sure I had a full plan, talk to my therapist, talk to my coach, my accountability partner. I went in there with some kombucha. It was at a brewery, so I figured they wouldn't have any beer. I brought some kombucha in a Gatorade bottle. It's funny, it was like smuggling wine in my old days. Now I'm smuggling kombucha. But I brought one bottle and I had another one in the car. I walked in with her. Just, it feels like I got something to help me cheat the system, even though it wasn't booze. And I also had, so I walked in late, but it still didn't seem that busy, and it was lighter than I expected. I felt very intimidated. I beelined to the bathroom where I had a Klonopin in my pocket. I had my doctor prescribe those long ago as needed for anxiety. It's kind of like a mild sedative, and I just took a half a pill. That's technically a benzo, which you can get addicted to. It technically gives you a dopamine hit, but it really hits your GABA system, which just reduces your neuronal excitability, so it relaxes you. So, and it wasn't that much, half a milligram. It had probably more of a placebo effect, but I walked out of there feeling like I did my part to kind of help cheat the system, just to make sure I wouldn't drink. And, I ran into a couple I knew, got talking, and it was all good from there. I ended up closing the place. Didn't want to leave. Dead sober. Just drinking my kombucha all night. So it was great. So, and, for me, it all depends on how much sobriety I have and how steel-minded I am as far as just booze being off the table. Because you can get to that level where alcohol just does not exist in your life. ABB, anything but booze. And I've been there. I've had alcohol in my fridge for weeks on end. Has not been an issue because I would never drink it. It's a dangerous game, but I know even one sip will trigger that voice, and who knows? I might have another slip in me, but I do not have another recovery in me, and I will never risk it again by ever allowing that voice to get refueled. It's a parasite. Every day that we don't drink, it gets weaker, we get stronger, it shrivels up, but you can never reinvigorate it by even taking a sip of alcohol. So the key is, especially early on, if you do go out, you got to take the pressure off. Don't go to trigger environments. Go where you feel safe. And for me, the next date I went on, I made sure it was much less pressure. Frankly, I wasn't that attracted to her. Didn't think I was going to marry her, so I didn't feel much pressure. And I didn't need anything. I was completely fine. And eventually I did completely get off using Klonopin as a crutch as well. I now have a completely calm nervous system, which I say is a true measure of success. Now over 9 months of sobriety. I once had 3.5 years, and I'm right back there. So you can get there. You just got to stay sober, stay patient. And again, theme of this, go outside your comfort zone. That's where life happens. But stay inside your strength zone. And as far as hanging out with the friends, my buddy's question at the beginning, again, put them on notice, get their support. And again, you might need to not spend time with them for a while. And if you find out ultimately that you need to drink to enjoy a person or people or a thing, you might not generally enjoy those things. And you may just have to find new friends, new activities, etc. But the other thing is you might just need time to really gain what I've achieved, is emotional sobriety, which one definition of me is permission to enjoy life sober. So I feel like I can go anywhere now, no matter how uncomfortable, no matter how crazy it might be, a golf weekend, etc. Drinking alcohol does not exist in my life. And I embrace that, and I welcome any challenge. So that'll do it. As always, please like, share, subscribe, and remember, stronger, sober. Thanks.